Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So we're going to talk about 11 reasons why narcissists get married. Mine is probably married as of this very second as I record this. He's in the middle of his wedding. So why do they get married? And there's 11 reasons, more, but let's talk about this. They do it to secure that source of narcissistic supply. And they don't have this identity of a healthy self persona of who they really are. So within their minds, they construct this false image and they have infused grandiose ideas, feelings of superiority, but that false ego can't support their delusion. So they got to find it from an outside source and they need other people to do that. So they just need to secure supply for a lifelong commitment. Does it usually last? A lot of times narcissists get married more than once. There's a pattern. They don't seem to correct things. And also the people that they choose as it gets later on in life. Are they choosing somebody who had some coping skills, issues, traumas? And that's just a breeding ground for the relationship to implode. So narcissists love to discard. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but the main reason, it's a one-sided relationship, and it's just a way to have their needs met. It's also socially accepted that you're supposed to have a husband or wife, so it helps them feel like they're fitting into society. They believe they're perfect and they want to be accepted by society. So they know how society views what's acceptable, not acceptable. And that's often why they hide cheating, because society still sees that as wrong. So a lot of them do tend to cheat. So most narcissists, there's this informal timeline that exists. We're supposed to have babies at a certain time. We're supposed to get married at a certain time. We're supposed to have a job or go to college, or certain things that society says that we should or shouldn't do, certain haircuts, certain fashions. So they often try to fit in. They're not able to just be who they are. They have to conform. They have to fit in. They have to secure. They often like that acceptance from the extended families. So they often try to schmooze them. They can often use those as flying monkeys. So if a narcissist was constantly criticized by their parents, it is a common cause to narcissism. So in turn, they might be trying to get their parents respect, or the new spouse's parents respect. And they're always trying to prove themselves to their family. So they're trying to say, yeah, I do fit in. Yeah, somebody does want me. And this is a way of them pushing against feelings of inadequacy that could have been caused by neglectful parents or overly critical. It's kind of like them, you know, it's interesting how narcissists often have an avoidant or anxious attachment style. Mine did pretty much the avoidant. So some of you had the anxious ones. My best friend has an anxious attachment style. And that's because they're afraid of loss. They felt not adequate enough when they were growing up. So they feel that they're never going to match up to what they need to. So because of that, they feel they're going to be discarded by somebody who truly loves them. So this attachment insecurity that this narcissist goes through makes them constantly wanting to earn approval. So the more the merrier. So they're latching on to a spouse plus the extra extended families. They're trying to get approval from their own families. It's also a form of image protection. So they just use that as a coping mechanism, kind of like the perfect life, Romeo and Juliet, knight in shining armor, that everything fell into place, that their life is together. They're not single. They're not undesired. I'm single, so I can relate. But it's them finding their identity in titles, married, spouse, husband, wife. They're searching for who they are. So they just take these steps to protect their fragile ego. And, they often, the ones that are anxious tend to marry quickly. They want to show everyone that, they're desired, that that's why they often rush into it. They just got to prove their point that somebody does want them, that they are worthy. But they also don't take the time to have the other person really get to know them. So are they really worthy? Everything about a narcissist is about their image. And, they have that fear of abandonment, and they just, at a deep level, they just feel they're not worthy, they're not lovable. And they marry to make sure somebody's always going to be there. It's kind of like a panic marriage is what I call it. The one that's getting married today, he was with her for 5 years. So it's not like a panic, but they moved in really quickly. So that's where the panic came in my eyes. So they want to show up their friends like, I got somebody better than you do. Their narcissists are always competitive, whether the best of the best or the worst of the worst. And they just need to be externally validated. And they're trying to prove to themselves that they're superior, that they're worthy. And they take advantage of the blessings that they get. So they want somebody who is attractive, intelligent, successful, young, kind of like a trophy spouse. And, sometimes some of us are like, well, they traded down. We have to be careful on that because everybody has different qualities. So, there are times, yeah, they do trade down, some trade up, but regardless of that, it goes to their self-esteem or their entitlement. So if they don't have low self-esteem, it's easier to trade down. They also don't have to worry about that person straying as easily. So if they feel entitled, they have faith in their manipulation tactics, they'll possibly trade up. So when they marry, it's kind of like ownership to them. And narcissists often see people as objects. And I'm doing this study on porn addiction and just how objectified things are and the techniques that they use during porn. It's there was a study that people don't like the, two full bodies. They like parts. They just want to see the parts, to zone in on that, to objectify it. And that's what the narcissist does, is they just see us as objects. And that's where their focus is, something to suit their needs. So sometimes they'll use it for religious purposes. Maybe they feel lost. They're not sure about if there is a God, or they're trying to follow family traditions or to fit into society. It's interesting. And some can be curious about God, but it's just kind of like tradition. Like you're supposed to, your parents did, just like different people with different religions. I'm Christian. Some Christians are Christian. Others just do the tradition. Whether it's Jesus in the manger or Santa Claus, it's tradition. So sometimes they just carry it on out of habit. It's something to do to keep you busy. They often want to be in the spotlight. And that's why during this engagement time, that they are in the spotlight. They have a year of fantasticness, or they rush into it because they're a little too scared that if they wait, it won't happen. So they're in the spotlight when they get married. So the narcissist, is enjoying that. And that's what can motivate them to get married. So they're in their spotlight with their friends, family, all the way up until the time of the wedding. Everyone is focused on them. They are enjoying it. And after the wedding, this attention starts to fade. And the narcissist will start to look at their spouse and it's usually not enough for the narcissist. That's often why they have extramarital affairs. They create drama in their life and they love that. But it's also to keep them in more than one person's spotlight. They love the attention. So there's often emotional cheating. Physical cheating happens too, but they're never satisfied with one person. And if two become one, it's how it should go. It works. And you know, if you look at the good qualities in your mate, then you're always going to want to try to keep building. But the narcissist looks down on us, that they feel superior. So if you look at your mate in a positive light and they look at you in a positive light, it brings it up. It just enlightens things. But when somebody's looking down, it brings it down. And that's what the narcissist does, is they bring a lot of negative energy. They bring confusion. When we try to rebalance it, they still knock us down even more. So that's why it's doomed. It's doomed because of the trauma, the fear, the things that you fear, you manifest. And think about it. The things you fear, you manifest. You know, I started to feel that I was being abandoned, and you start freaking out, and then you're looked at as a neg or annoying or la la la. So we kind of do it too, you know, as far as the self-fulfilling prophecy. We got to be real careful on that. We have to build up our self-esteem to realize our worth. And that just gives the narcissist more flaws, as they would see, but it's a drama they cause. It's an uncomfortable situation that they cause. They're not reassuring to us. If they are reassuring, it's bullshit, and we can feel that it's bullshit. We have like an intuition. Everybody does. I'm doing studies on psychopaths as well, where they can sense when people lie. So you gotta be really careful if you ever lie to a psychopath, because that'll piss them off, and it can be life-threatening. So that's something to know as far as psychopaths. But narcissists kind of are pretty close to where, depending on what scale they fit into, how dangerous they can be. And they can give it, but they can't take it. There's no safe spot with a narcissist, and it goes in waves. So you never know where you are in the relationship. It can, you know, cause a lot of havoc. But narcissists love the drama. It makes them feel powerful. That's why even when things are good, you know, I used to always say with my first one, I'm like, we're breaking up. And people are like, what are you talking about? You're getting along. I'm like, yeah, we're going to break up. And it was the weirdest thing, because that's when it should have been like beautiful and building and amazing. But that's when it ends. So today he's getting married. Just means it's going to be beautiful, which means it's going to fall apart. Does that make sense? So it can be convenient, you know, make sure somebody's there to cook, clean, run some errands, bring in the mail, less stress of doing the dating scene. Financially, you don't have to worry, do I have the means to take somebody out or spoil them? You often see too that they start to dwindle away the gifts, the love bombing. They get a little comfortable, and they don't feel that they have to continue being who they showed us that they were. So, and it's not all about gifts, like, but it's about the time, you know. You can have the same meal, but you can make it special, whether it's a picnic or, you know, breakfast in bed or whatever you guys want to do. There's different ways of doing things. So why did they get married? It's simple. Society expects it in a sense. Somebody's always there for them. And it, in a sense, boosts their self-esteem. But that self-esteem isn't internally regulated. It's regulated by the outside. And sometimes they'll develop thoughts in their heads of something that's not even happening, or they relate it to themselves. A lot of our perceptions are based on our experiences, our thoughts. So they know who they are. They know they lie. They know they cheat. They know they're tempted. They know this, that, da, da, da. And so they project that onto people. And they're not seeing the true person. And that's where it falls apart. So it can last for years because of how their manipulation tactics are, the people that they choose, the empathetic people who focus on the good instead of the bad. Narcissists will split black and white, and empathetic people try to see the good. They do that cognitive dissonance, choose the lesser of two evils, try to give excuses for why the narcissist might have acted out of appropriateness. And it's damaging. Sometimes those little jabs they give are so minute that we often overlook them. And eventually it just, it's like an infection. Sometimes you don't know you have an infection until it's way gone past the point of no return almost, unless you get antibiotics. And then it's like so painful. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to fester and fester and eventually explode. So the statistics on divorce are pretty high, especially with second and definitely third and consequent marriages. The older people get, the more traumas that they've had, the more baggage. And even if they go to counseling, it's really like you really can't reason with them. Like I was talking to my narcissistic neighbor yesterday, and just it's mind blowing. He owes child support, it's like $1,000, and I said that's because they're really struggling with money. I said that's a good chunk of change, and he's like, well, other people owe, and I'm like, no, not how much you owe as far as child support, because $1,000 isn't as bad as a lot of people. But when they're dirt ass poor, asking me for money, to go buy cigarettes or whatever, that's a big chunk. Like $1,000 is a good amount of money. And I'm trying to explain, like, no, I'm not talking about how much you owe in child support. I'm just trying to say $1,000 is a good chunk of change. It's kind of hard to come up with. And he just kept focusing on how, he's trying to, I guess, defend himself that he doesn't owe all that much. And he's just not getting what I'm trying to say. And it's not that big of a deal, but it's just they're like, they don't stop and just try to understand, like, oh, that's what you meant. It's not that big of a deal in this situation, but in relationship stuff, it can wear at you, especially when you live with the person and you're constantly going through this. You're like, okay, I just asked you, like, could you do this? Or, whatever we're trying to discuss. And it's odd too. My narcissist, my second one, not so sure about my first because that was like 30 years ago, but my second one, didn't like to say yes or no. And that's where that word salad comes in, that you can't have an effective conversation. And you're always like trying to go back, like, how do I reword this? And, just like when I was talking to my neighbor about the $1,000, like, dude, like, that's fine. I'm just saying it's a big chunk of change. You say, yeah, it's kind of hard to come up with. They just don't get common conversations. It's going to fall with the new supply. It just is. It just is. So, it's just sad. Cluster B Milkshake said, that it's two people trying to destroy each other. And she's a self-aware narcissist. And sometimes too, we weren't trying to destroy our person. We were trying to love them and rebalance things. And we did our part to make it worse. We did. Because we were left with no tools. Was it our fault? No, it wasn't. There was no stop and wait, what are you trying to say? Because they don't understand what we're trying to say. So it's just like if you're trying to save somebody and you're doing your best with the CPR and you accidentally broke a rib. In a sense, it was your fault. But you did the best you could. And they would have died anyways if you didn't even try. So was it your fault because you were pushing on them to save their life? It's kind of like that. They would have died anyways if you left them alone. The narcissist with the relationship, no matter how much you try to resuscitate it, it's going to die anyways. You try, you made a mistake, push too hard, just like CPR, push too hard or whatever. And there were consequences. But don't think it was your fault for trying to save something that you believed in. But moving forward, let's focus on, kind of triage our future. We can't save everybody. So let's find that relationship that's kind of healthy. You don't have to worry about mistakes. You don't have to worry, did I do the right thing? Or is it going to die anyways? So big hugs to you guys. I know it's hard out there. And rebuild that self-esteem, because that's when you have your boundaries. That's when things fall into place more. The narcissist kills our self-esteem. And because of that, we react just like these narcissists. We have to be whole in ourselves, and we have to know when to walk away. If it's not fixable, if both people don't want to fix it, it's not going to work. And sometimes timing on when people want to fix it too matters. So I hope that was helpful. One-on-ones are available. Please comment below. There is a donation button below. I know a lot of you guys don't know about that. It helps me, helps other YouTubers. But have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.